Alright, I said I'd do a video diary for a few people that might be interested in what I'm doing out here in France. Starting off with my session, I've been here for about 6 days now. Started off on Les de Villes Forges. It's a public lake near the Belgian border. I actually had to pass through Belgium to get to it. Beautiful lake, about 150 hectares in size. Hard going, to be honest. One side of the lake you can fish from your vehicle pretty much. You just got unload and you're probably about 100 yards from your vehicle. The other side of the lake, which looks much more interesting, that's the one where you've got a boat from one side of the venue to the other. Now it's a fair old size lake. I decided that was the area I wanted to fish. There was 2 points in the on the vicinity which I knew would have been intriguing fish. It's the time of year now where fish would have been either spawning or pre-spawning or had spawning on the mind. Now one of the bays that come off the lake was quite shallow, very snaggy, and I knew that would have been an area to start with, where it would have been a good pointing start to try and snare a few fish. Anyway, I set off in my boat, me and my dog. I was towing another boat with all my gear in. Got halfway across the lake and my outboard motor packed in. So basically, in a crosswind, I had to bolt by hand to the other side of the lake. It's a fair old size lake. Now, just to give you a size of give you an idea of the size of the lake, it took me approximately about 2 hours 15 minutes to bolt from one side to the other. Now, it's ridiculous, really. That was in the crosswind. As I was getting out into the middles, I was getting drifted down towards the other side. The area I actually wanted to fish, I got to in the end after about 2 hours 15, 2 hours 20 minutes. Got over to the area, pulled up, moored up, got out of the boat, went and had a chat with a few people that was fishing. There was quite a lot of people fishing the lake. It is a quite pressured venue, that, to be honest. Had a walk down. I was quite apparent after speaking to probably 15-20 people that the lake was fishing absolute shite. There was anglers that had been there for 2 weeks, anglers that had been there for 10 days that was blanking. I spoke to 2 people that had actually caught. They'd only had 1 fish. Now they was in groups of about 5 people, and they'd been baiting heavily in one area. So to be honest, it really put me off. I travelled all that way. I'd got down there, and I was really put off by what I was hearing. So I bit the bone, if you like, and thought, right, I'm going to boat back. So I put all the gear back in the boat, tried to make amends of this outboard motor, but it wasn't working. So I decided to start rowing. Anyway, started rowing across. About an hour into the journey, I was getting pretty close. The wind was behind me, so I was getting pretty close to the bank. I seen a fish crash out. I was like, whoa, what's that going on there? You know what I mean? People are saying they've not seen fish. People are saying the lake's fishing shit. I've just seen a fish crash out, probably about 300 yards from the bank. Anyway, what I decided to do was pull my other boat closest to me with all my gear in it, pulled it towards me, unclipped one of my rods off the boat, pulled it out of the bungee. I already had a bait on it from last time I was fishing, which wasn't too long ago, about a week before. So I just whacked it roughly in the rings, and it went pretty much bang on where it was. Unclipped my bail arm, and basically with the wind that was pulling, it wasn't too bad. I was pulling a little bit, but it was pushing me towards the bank, so I just sat back, relaxed. Me and my dog in the boat with another boat towing the gear. We was just relaxing, towing around, and then I started seeing line peel from the spool. I thought, this can't be happening. This isn't going on. You know what I mean? I spoke to all these people, and they said they've not caught. And a lake of this size, a lake of this immensity, it was like pretty surreal, to be honest. Anyway, I slapped the bail arm over, tightened the clutch, and it did. It carried on. So I tightened up the clutch, slammed into it, and I soon realised there was a fish on the end of it. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. I was pretty blown away by what was going on. I just whacked a rig on top of a fish in a fishing area where people could fish. There was actually H blocks right near where I was fishing, and I had a fish on the end of my line. Anyway, to cut a long story short, it was probably about half an hour later when I landed the fish. It would have took about 2 minutes, but I didn't have the landing net in my boat. I'd picked up the rod out of the other boat, you know what I mean? So I had to I hit into the fish anyway. I played it for a couple of minutes, got as close as I could, and I thought, right, I'm gonna have to let you run. So I slackened off the clutch a bit, rested it on the side of the boat, and then I had to pull my other boat towards me to get the landing net out, because I didn't even have a net set up because I wasn't expecting anything to happen. Anyway, I got the landing net out, Started pulling it towards. After about 2-3 minutes, the fish was in the net. I don't know what weight it was. I've not got a clue, to be honest, but it looked like a near 40 to me. If not, it was a 30, but who cares? If it was a 20, it was a 20, you know what I mean? I don't give a fuck, to be honest. It was a fish out of a lake which is absolutely immense, where most people have been blanking all week. So happy days. The public lake, I'd say £40 to be completely honest, was in the net. I was tempted to carry on fishing it. Where I landed it from was a day only bank, and I did see quite a few fish after I'd been fishing. After I landed the fish, I was sat there pretty much all night till like 10 o'clock, and then I decided I was going to sleep by the lake, not fishing, just watching. It became quite apparent that the fish moved out of the area by about 10-11 o'clock. Woke up early doors, sat there looking, and there was no fish in the area. So to be honest, I think it was just one of them things, right place, right time. From there, I'd kind of hit my target, if you like, you know what I mean. I had the fish that I wanted to. That's what I went over here to do. After my last session, which most of you probably know, I wrote off my vehicle. Got kicked off about 5 lakes. We had an absolute nightmare of a session. And then from the bad to the good, if you like, I'd basically gone from having an absolute nightmare to landing the fish that I'd targeted, the fish, the size, the fish, the venue that I actually wanted within a couple of hours after turning up. I'd literally had the rod in the water, the only rod in the water, for like 25-30 minutes. It was absolutely ridiculous the way how quick it happened. Anyway, I had a quick think, and I realised and sat there and thought, well, nobody else is catching. There's some pretty good anglers on the lake. It is busy, so it was just one of them things. It was just like a look at the draw situation. So I decided to head on my way from there. I went from there. One of my pals, Jason, he was fishing on a French-owned lake, which I won't name because it is quite elusive, down in the Picardy region. I drove down there. He'd been on for 4 nights. He'd had a good few fish, to be fair. Good angling. It's not an easy lake. It is quite unknown. I did put him onto it. So fair play, Jay. I was impressed by all you did there, mate. Anyway, I turned up. Had a quick scrap round. I'm not saying I put a lot of effort in, because I didn't. I turned up. I'd been a bit tired after the drive. We didn't have much sleep that night. We'd slept at the site. We slept in me and my dog had slept in my bed chair in the back of a van next to a lake. She'd been snoring all night, so I was absolutely fucked by the time we got here. Quick scat round, spotted a few fish in a corner. I wasn't actually going to fish, to be honest. I thought, I'll turn up, I'll get my bivvy up, I'll get my rig sorted, I'll get everything sorted, get my stall set up, and then I'll start tidying up and get my rods out. Anyway, turned up. I was going to pull the bivvy out, and then I spotted a few fish in this corner, and I thought, fucking hell, is it going to happen here for me, you know what I mean? So I pulled my first rod out, flicked it out, pulled my second rod out, flicked it out, pulled my third rod out, flicked it out. Not even got my bite lambs out of the fucking bag, to be honest. Just put my first bite lamb down, put my second bite lamb down, put my third bite lamb down, and I noticed the first bite lamb I'd put down, my rod was tight and it was arced over, and I was like, what's going on here? Next minute, my second rod was arced over, and I was like, what? So I hit into the first rod. Anyway, to cut a long story short, pretty much seconds after I dropped that rod, a fish had picked it up, and it had not just picked it up, it had kited round the other line. Which was understandable, to be honest, because I just dropped it out. The other rod was quite close to it, so the fish had kited around the other line. Anyway, I pulled into it, give up a good scrap. Started pulling it close. The other rod, I could hear the clutch going on it, so I was thinking, oh, for fuck's sake, am I going to land this fish here? You know what I mean? It had gone over my other line. I thought, what shall I do? I realised that my line was going over it, so I just bit my other line, the one that was going. I thought, at the end of the day, I'm going to pull this fish in. I am going to get the other rig in, what's attached to it. So who cares as long as I get the fish in. So anyway, about 2 minutes later, I landed the fish. Coming quite easy. Landed it, untangled the mess that was there, which wasn't too bad. There was obviously the rig that was in the bottom of its lip, and the other rig was tangled around that. Bit off all the mess, and about 2 minutes later, Jay's mate come round. He took the pictures for me and that. Happy days. Did another night in that swim after that. I mean, to be honest, I thought I was going to get an absolute smashing result. I'd not been in the swim for fucking 10 minutes and I'd had a fish, you know what I mean? The fish was in front of me. It was just, again, for the second time, it was an opportunities fish, you know what I mean? So it was just one of them things. Anyway, I had it, stayed in that swim for another 24 hours, didn't see a bean. Moved further up. I know none of you are going to know the lake because I've not mentioned it, but it was post number 8. I did probably 2 nights in post number 8. I had a fish that Jay had also hooked. Anyway, he'd basically hooked it, and I could still see he'd hooked it. It actually had his rig in its mouth. He'd been cut off, not through bad angling, through good angling, to be honest. He did all he could, but the fish cut him off. He still had his rig in. The fish was just under 40 pounds, I'd say. So I just slipped it back, didn't weigh it. Still, I rang Jay up and asked him what rig he was on, because I'm pretty sure it was his, and he confirmed it was his rig. So I was quite happy that I slipped it back, to be honest. It's not about taking pictures of fish that you might have caught the week before. I'm not out here for that. I'm out to catch fish that haven't been caught, or out here to catch fish that my mate hasn't named the year before, you know what I mean? I mean, to be honest, I've fished France for years and I love it. That's why I'm here now. That's why it was only probably 2 months ago when I crashed my vehicle over here. I was over here on a trip. We had an absolute nightmare. I was fishing Lac de Meidine. Started fishing there. Was fishing on an island on Meidine there. We got as much information as we could, which was hard to find, to be honest. We got the information, and the information basically said through the World Carp Classics, which they held there for a good few years, that you could fish from the island. So we set up on the island. Well, we didn't actually set up. We unloaded all the gear from the boat. Now I say unloaded all the gear from the boat, that doesn't sound like an effort, but it took us about an hour and a half to get to the swim. The wind was crashing in. We had the outboard motor on full, and we was rowing just to get to where we wanted to fish. Now we'd finally got there, we'd got all the gear off, we were just about to get the bivvy set up, and some Belgian chaps come over to us and said, listen lads, you can't fish here, it's no fishing. We've been like, what do you mean? He said, you can't fish from the islands. And we were like, what? So this Belgian chap said to us there, he said, right, listen, he said, you can fish from the car park. He said, you can fish from the car park, you can't night fish till after the 1st of May, but you can fish from the car park. So we thought, that's not too bad. What we'll do, we'll go over to the car park, we'll set the bivvies up and whatnot, and then we'll just, we'll reel in at 11, 12 o'clock when it gets dark, and we'll put a bit of bait in for the morning, and then we'll cast back out at first light. Not a bad thing really, rest in the swim till morning, you know what I mean? So anyway, we did that. Fucking, it must have been a couple of hours.